I apologize if you can hear the leaf blowers outside. It's in the middle of the afternoon, and therefore the apartment guys have gotten the reservations to do the thing at this time, so it's unfortunate, but you're gonna have to live with it because I actually do have somewhere to be in a few minutes. Let's talk about this article published by Marco D'Amico on Montreal Hockey Now. It talks about a topic that we kind of highlighted yesterday on the show, talking about the Winnipeg Jets and Pierre-Luc Dubois as to whether or not his future in Peg City is all too solidified. Marco D'Amico, of course, on Montreal Hockey Now talks about the Montreal Canadiens and how they might play into these conversations as well. It's actually kind of funny now that I think about it because Dubois, Montreal, this entire thing has been something that has proceeded for, dare I say, like a year? When Dubois was on the market last time with Columbus, everybody was talking about, okay, Montreal, they could use centers, they could use French centers too. Why would the Montreal Canadiens not want to go after PLD, a third overall pick in the 2016 NHL Draft? But inevitably, we saw it did not go down. Dubois was traded over to Winnipeg. He was traded for Patrick Laine and Roslovic, and he had a pretty good season, all things considered. Just for the sake of quickly reviewing things, because we did talk about this yesterday, but I understand that not everybody would have watched yesterday's video. Dubois is 23 years old, 6'3", 218, signed till the end of this year, making $5 million. He is an RFA with 2 years left until his UFA eligibility, and with the fact that he took up a number one center spot on the Winnipeg Jets, while also putting up 58 points in 78 games as a solid two-way center, it makes for a very interesting conversation as to where Dubois is going to go with the next contract he receives. This is the article as we were talking about. Dubois possibly available. The Montreal Canadiens should think twice. The link will be in the description if you want to go ahead and read it. It looks like things may not work out long-term in Winnipeg for PLD, and although the Canadiens will undoubtedly be linked to the Jets Center, they should think twice before pursuing any type of deal. Now, this article is not talking about Dubois and how he should go to Montreal. It's talking about how it's inevitable the Canadiens will be linked to the guy, but they should think twice. I like this angle that D'Amico is coming from for sure. They summarize on the piece the Elliot Friedman hit on 32 Thoughts that we did talk about yesterday as well, where Friedman says that because of the situation, because of the context of the signing and the money and the status of how good he is, it is remaining to be seen whether or not Dubois will sign a long-term extension with the Jets or a short-term one that takes him straight up to UFA status, or if he just gets traded. The last time Dubois was made available was in January of 2021, and many were willing to include names like Jesperi Kotkaniemi, Cole Caulfield, Alexander Romanov, and a quantity of high draft picks to acquire the Quebec-born center. With the Canadiens being in a far different situation 15 months later, they should approach the situation with caution. That was indeed one of the bigger things, was it not? All of the trade proposals, Dubois, KK, Caulfield, Romanov, we made videos about all of them, and they got so many views because everybody loves their trade rumors. Yeah, surprise, surprise. But either way, Dubois and the conversations about where he is going to get traded to and what he could be traded for, they took over the hockey world before the 2021 season started. You know, it was in that limbo period. We had just finished the Stanley Cup bubble. We were waiting for the season to start. We had the season delayed and postponed, and we were waiting for fans to be in the stands and all that stuff. It was wild. So all we had to do and talk about was Pierre-Luc Dubois trade rumors. Eventually he got traded for Laine, etc., but I digress. The Jets are likely looking at a retool after a string of disappointing years, and a shakeup of their core could be in order. There are indeed the same things talking about Dubois if he's signed by the draft. The article asks, okay, if the Canadiens are going to draft one of the top centers like Shane Wright or Logan Cooley, should they really trade for a Dubois instead? The Dubois trade would negate a rebuild is the perspective that Marco is going for here. If the Canadiens aren't interested in going on a long rebuild and feel they could make moves to position themselves for a playoff run next season, then Dubois would be a very viable option. They have the assets to swing that kind of trade this summer, especially with the extra first and second rounders acquired at the NHL trade deadline. Dubois would provide the Canadiens with a real 1-2 punch at center, alongside a Suzuki, yada yada yada. His style complements Suzuki physical pesky game. The point of contention then becomes the trade return, as any deal involving Dubois will likely require something along the lines of, and this is where the article gets interesting, A first-round pick, Calgary's 2022 first or Florida's 2023 first, a roster player with term, i.e. Dvorak, a good prospect, Norlinder, Ylonen, Kidney, or Jan Mysak, and an extra pick. This is kind of funny, because when you review what exactly it was Dubois got the first time, where it was him and a third-round pick traded for Roslovic and Laine, this package that Marco D'Amico is proposing is better? Dubois for a first, Dvorak, a good prospect, and another pick, versus Dubois and a third for Roslovic and Laine. I know Laine's really good. He's fantastic, and I think a lot of people can understand that Laine has a brilliant future in the hockey world. But Dubois for a first, Dvorak, a prospect, and another pick? Ooh, that's really beefy. If you equate Christian Dvorak to what a Jack Roslovic was like in terms of value, you're essentially saying that Patrick Laine would be in the same realm as a first, a prospect, and a pick? I mean, that's a lot more believable than not, to be honest, but still, just in terms of the quantity versus the quality over here, that is a pretty beefy deal for a guy in Pierre-Luc Dubois who will be an RFA, so you do still need to re-sign him. However, as Marco D'Amico points out, the Canadiens do have the necessary assets to make some sort of deal and actually have it not affect them all too much. They've got a lot of firsts, they've got some picks, they've got a lot of prospects. They traded away a whole bunch of guys to Foley, Sherratt, Lehkonen. So there are some good names in this system here. It's just, when it comes to the overall situation of it, I'm not really too sure if it's something that I think the Canadiens should fully commit to, especially if the point that D'Amico brings up earlier comes to fruition where the Canadiens walk away with Shane Wright or Logan Cooley in the draft. Do you really need 3 top-line caliber centers when you can just use either the extra assets or the extra picks for other things down the line? Not saying that it's not good to have 3 very capable centers in your hockey team, it's just a point that I think is worth bringing up. And so we go over onto Dvorak, because he's the guy that I think is the most interesting in this conversation. The fact that it is his name that's brought up here as a roster player with term that could go back the other way to Winnipeg. And we have highlighted this in a few videos already talking about Dvorak and his future with the Canadiens, that, yeah, I know the Canadiens shelled out a whole bunch of stuff for him. They traded away the pick that they got in the Kotkaniemi offer sheet compensation package, alongside of a few other things for Dvorak from Arizona, and he actually did not really do all too well this season in comparison to what Canadiens fans thought he would be able to do. Dvorak in previous years just kind of produced in the same way he did this year. It's just on a Canadian squad that a lot of people were saying would give him a better opportunity to do more of what he had done. He's on pace for 30 total points in 56 games because, injuries are a thing, which isn't really the best point production, but still, it would be on pace for about 40-plus-ish points should he have played a full 82-game year. But for Christian Dvorak, there is a concern that you could bring up as to whether or not he is the right guy. He is a fit for this team long-term, especially when you consider what you could probably get in a potential trade should you make that deal. If it is a Pierre-Luc Dubois that you attach a Christian Dvorak to become that final piece in the package, do you do a move like this? You do have the opportunity to use some of those picks because you have a lot of them, so would you be interested in revisiting the entire Dubois to Montreal angle? You can let me know in the comments all your thoughts about this, because for sure I know a lot of Canadiens fans really wanted this guy last time he was available. So we'll see if that entire spectrum of fan acknowledgement and excitement is still there. So yeah, you can let me know in the comments all your thoughts about that if you really want Dubois on your team, and if you actually do, then hey, what would you want to give up? Is this Marco D'Amico package of a first and a Dvorak and a prospect and an extra pick something that you would be interested in, or is that a little bit too much? Because I can totally understand either way. Hey, you got to shell out value to get value, or hey, Norlinder is going to be the future, or Jan Mysak or Riley Kidney, they're both going to be good players, so why would we trade any of these guys? For the first-round picks, I feel like those are probably the assets that most Canadiens fans can live with getting rid of, because they got so many of them already. Of course, their own first, plus the Sherratt first, plus the Toffoli first. It's kind of overwhelming how many firsts they were able to get, and other significant draft picks and prospects in the past few months here. Kent Hughes doing a pretty good job, if I do say so myself. So you can let me know in the comments all your thoughts about the Canadiens and the Dubois situation. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.